Well, it seems like the funding cuts are just being lobbed over the bow of the USS nonprofit, right? No matter which vein you work in the United States right now, your nonprofit funding, if you have anything that touches upon a federal funding stream, it's being touched, even if it's state, because those monies are being funneled, right? And it's worrisome. Everything from funding for the libraries and the museums are being affected. The funding, obviously, for food assistance, maybe even SNAP. It's just every day. I can't predict what today will bring, let alone tomorrow or the next day, and neither can you. We can only assume the worst and plan. And if you don't have a plan, then you plan to fail, right? It's a truism because it's true. And so we're going to talk a little bit about planning and just 3 things. And I want you to think about this as we move forward, because every day brings new information, new directives, new executive orders. You need to take a look at these 3 things that might be able to lead you to a path of relief and maybe even a success that you didn't expect. We can hope for that, like there's a silver lining. But burying your head in the sand and pretending that you may not be affected is just not going to be that's not a good plan. We're just going to be real about it. The other thing that is not a good plan is assuming you're not going to be affected. Well, we don't receive any federal dollars. No, but those organizations that do receive federal dollars, they have local funders from the same place your local funders are. So your cities, your counties, your states, your local foundations, even your local major donors, you may share some of those funding pathways with them. And they're going to be seeking more from those pathways. So if you're one of the few organizations that feel like these situations aren't going to affect us, they are going to affect you because you share those pathways of funding. So we're going to talk a little bit about planning today, and we want to develop diversified revenue strategies. And that may mean branching out, doing something digitally. I first want you to know that if you don't have a robust fundraising department, that if you don't have a major gift plan, if you don't have an estate gift plan, then worrying about digital fundraising right now is not where you need to go. Your biggest return on investment of anything is going to be estate gift planning. One large gift in an estate planned gift outshines all the other fundraising. It can anyway. And the secondary is major gifts. Major gifts, major gifts, major gifts. One human being, even part-time from your executive director, working on major gifts will set your organization up to put together a fundraising department. If you'd like to talk more about that, I have a coaching service. It's linked in the descriptive. But if you have a robust fundraising department, if you already have a major gifts plan, and you're working it, and you already have an estate planning gift plan, and you have a database, a donor management software. Again, if you do not have a donor management software, if you have not made that small investment, because it really is a small investment compared to not having it, do that. Again, I've got the coaching link down below. Give me a shout. We can talk. But as you're looking at your plan, diversify your funding. I know a lot of small nonprofits that rely heavily on federal grants. And if one federal grant or one state grant goes away, their organization doesn't exist anymore. Right now is time to really spend quality time consistently working on that diversification of what you're doing with your nonprofit fundraising. Create a realistic timeline for this. If you're wanting to start a major gift plan and do a small, suppose you did a small capacity building capital campaign. And so maybe you said, maybe you're super small and you said, we want to do a $50,000 capacity building capital campaign. That's completely doable, by the way. Start your timeline. Sign up for the free coaching that I offer. Your first 30 minutes are free, and you can decide what you want to do. Other organizations offer really great assistance also. We're all here for you. But make a realistic timeline. And even if you don't know what that timeline looks like, again, ask me, Google it, put it in your ChatGPT, at least for the timeline. You're going to be able to understand how long do nonprofits take on average to raise $50,000. You can even say for a budget of a $1 million budgeted nonprofit to raise $50,000 capacity building capital campaign. What's that timeline? It's not very long, by the way. That was the second. So third, identify specific economic development metrics to track. What? Well, identify a couple of things that you do for your community. Are you a food bank? How many meals do you provide as a food bank? How does that supplement the incomes of the community you are in? It's really quite large. If you don't know how to do this, reach out to your local economic development organization and ask them to help you develop, put a number on it, say 3 metrics to watch over time. And once you start, you can maybe go back a little bit in time, but generally you start from where you are and you track those metrics so that you have something to provide your local political entities, whether that's your state, whether that's your city or counties. Because if your federal income stream has been decreased, then you might have access through other income streams from tax entities like your county and your city. If it's appropriate, you only know if it's appropriate if you're tracking it. A lot of organizations will try from just the point of view of how many people they employ, and some nonprofits that's really effective. If you are a larger nonprofit that happens to be in that city, suppose you're like Kiwanis International and you just happen to be in Indianapolis. How many employees do you have, and how does that affect your local community? But if you are a food pantry, that's different altogether. You probably run mostly on volunteers, so you're not impacting the economy dramatically on that number, but you are from your work. If you're feeding children in the summertime, and that's a federal grant, and you want to keep going, and that maybe is something they might cut. Plan ahead. Say, the past 3 years, or since the pandemic even, we have fed X amount of families and children in the summertime with our school food program. and then extrapolate from that. How did that help those families? How did that help the local economy? Did that keep a shelf of stability that then they were able to make their house payments or their rent due to the fact that you were feeding their families one big meal a day at lunchtime? So to reiterate, I'm going to go back over the 3 things maybe that you could start for planning and what's going on right now. Develop a diversified revenue strategy. That's going to take some time. You may need assistance. Reach out. The assistance is there for you. My website is dawngabel, DAWNGABEL.com. From there, you can make an appointment. Create a realistic timeline. Be real about it. And if you don't know what that would be, do a little research. Invest in appropriate technology solutions. We spoke about that. See where you are in your level of preparedness. Do you have in your plan, are you ready to go digital? Do you have software? Are you already doing a major gifts program? How can that be augmented a bit? And are you ready to make the changes that you are needing to make? And so lastly, identify specific economic development metrics so you can have the information needed for other taxable income streams to defend where you're at. We may not be able to do anything about the federal, but we can seek funding in other areas. And we don't know what the future will bring. It's quite possible that some of this federal funding will just be handed over to the states to then disseminate, right? They've changed up, certainly, what's going on. We can't fix that in the near future. We can be prepared and plan ahead. From me to you, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through these changes, and I and other professionals are here to help you, and our hearts are with you.